film review, movies, music, culture, politics, society podcast, interviews, movie reviews, and more. Live Sundays at 5:30 p.m. on Facebook at Crayzon Deeyon.
Hey everybody, this is Lunell, the original bad girl of comedy. I'm here at the Link Promenade in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, and you're watching the film review.
What's going on, people? This is another great episode of the film review. Movies, music, culture, politics, and society. And do we have a great show for you today? We are the husband and wife team. I'm Crazy Dee.
Tracey.
And we review movies, music, culture, politics, and society. And like I said, we have a great show for you today. We're going to be reviewing one of mine today. You know, as we finish up the blaxploitation horror films that you should add to your selection on Halloween Eve and Halloween, right? So we're going to be talking about The Shifter, right? Then we're going to be talking about Black and Blue. The Black and Blue movie produced by Hidden Empire Film Productions, starring Naomi Harris and Tyrese. You know, it's Tyrese Gibson, but he only needs one name. Tyrese. And then we finally are able to review Dolemite Is My Name, starring Eddie Murphy and so many more, right? We're going to talk about, plus our topic for the night is the top 5 sitcoms of all time. The top 5 sitcoms of all time. And of course, we're going to be talking about, you know, something very dear to my heart here. We're going to bring this up here first before we get started. We have to say, Lord Land Theater. That's right, Lord Land Theater. If you are not aware that Lord Land Theater is on its 13th episode. Wow. The 13th episode, as we go back to the future, as I take you through the retail years on the 13th and the 12th episode, right? Which leads up to what we're talking about today, which is The Shifter, to round out Halloween, right? But Lord Land Theater, where actors from Las Vegas, Cleveland, Los Angeles, Atlanta act opposite yours truly, Crazy Dee, on Lord Land Theater, right? So before we get started, so we run down the rundown. Before we get started, how was your week?
It was a great week. It went by quickly.
It went by quickly. I mean, like, time is like flying. It's like flying out of control. It's like, you know, but it's sped up, and it's I guess it's meant to be that way.
The weather was beautiful.
The weather was beautiful. It's a little windy right now, as we can hear as we hear those choo-choo trains outside right now of our window, but that's okay because we're inside, and you know, when I'm out there in the elements, I always wear a mask. You know, I had to try to stay down from catching the heebie-jeebies that people are running around in shorts like it's still warm outside. See, what people have to figure out is when there's a cool breeze, and though it's sunny, the sun heats it up because, you know, of different reasons, ozone and all that. But it heats it up, and you think that it's the same, but it's not. I saw people out there with short sleeves. I said, I'm sure for sure that they're going to be coughing it up. You know what I mean? So, you know, don't be fooled by what you see out there weather-wise, right? So that's it. But you know, there's some interesting situations happening in the news before we get started. One that just broke today, I believe, because we turned on the television set after watching movies all day, and we came across the story about a Democratic, is it a senator or a congressperson, a representative? What's her name? Go ahead, bring it in.
Katie Hill?
Katie Hill. Is it unbelievable that Katie Hill, she was sent over to Washington.
She's a U.S. representative.
Yeah, that's right, Congresswoman.
Yeah.
She was sent over to Washington to help the people, but instead she was helping herself with one of her male staffers, right? And she is married.
Yeah.
Right?
So allegedly.
Allegedly. Yeah, we'll say allegedly.
She's under an ethics investigation.
Under an ethics investigation. Yeah. And why would that be?
Well, she resigned.
She resigned?
The accusation is that she had an affair with a staffer.
That she had an affair with the staffer.
Yeah, and then she also gave him a campaign bonus of $5,000.
What was he doing for that $5,000 on that campaign bonus?
California Congresswoman.
California Congresswoman. Now, see, because the Dems are acting so holier than thou, when things like this arise, then they have to bite the bullet and get rid of their people. Now, the more people they lose, the greater chance that Trump won't be impeached, right? So, I mean, so this is crazy, this holier than thou. They started with the Minnesota senator. What was his name? He was the comedian.
Oh, yeah, Al.
Yeah, Al Franken. And then they got Gabby Giffords. No, not Gabby Giffords. Is that who that blonde one? Who grew up in a cult. She was all up against him, telling him he needed to resign, and now she's dropped out of the presidential race. The blonde one. I think that's her name.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Well, no, she said it. She was saying, she was on TV saying that he would have to ask for forgiveness, and so, but she's dropped out the race though, a while ago. But main point is the Dems are doing this, and because they've been trying to go so hard at Trump about his alleged situations, they then have to fall on their sword and be so holier than thou, and they're just losing all the way around. So that was interesting to turn on the TV. Shocking to turn on TV. Not the Dems.
Yeah, because she's considered, well, they called her one of the freshmen.
Yeah.
You know, she was new in office. So.
New in office, but see, that is a fallacy for those people who believe that it would be better if women were running it than if men were running it. That is a fallacy. And why it's a fallacy is because power corrupts. So when you get into a power situation, you will often find that people will be corrupted if they don't hold their head. And if they were that type of person, have you ever noticed that politicians are always the ones that get caught up? It's like they act the most holier than thou, and I'm beyond reproach. I can't be approached by anyone to do anything dirty, and then when they get caught up with it, things like this happen. So that's why when they're talking about 45 and they talk about his proclivities to do certain things, that's why it won't fly, because too many of them already are like that themselves. And so that's what's really happening here. That's what's really happening. So we can mark one more off the book that probably would have voted for impeachment in the House. Now what? All right, so people. So that was interesting to wake up to after we'll turn on TV, because we had been up for a while. But we were enjoying ourselves and watching and getting ready for the review, and this is what we see. All right, people. So before we go any further, let me change the board here, because you know where we are. Let me double click here, bring this down here. Now, people. This right here is a crowning achievement of mine. It stands the test of time. And in the writing for this, you can see we've also started the watch party, so you can comment on either side. But within the writing, you can see the link that you can click there and watch the Black Ice Chronicles, The Shifter. This right here, the Black Ice Chronicles, The Shifter. Written, produced, directed, narrated, and acted in. Starring myself, Poison Ivy. You know her as Tawanda Freeman on Facebook. Diana Gumarova, Priscilla Moore, and more. right? All coming together to tell this story. So let's lay out the shifter. The shifter deals with a shop owner, Crazy Dee, the owner of Crazy Dee's, finds it hard to stay alive while a shifter is on the prowl, right? And so that's the premise of the piece. And what happens is,
isn't this the one that won the curator's pick? Hollywood.
That's right. We won the curator's pick at the Hollywood Fringe Fest in Hollywood, and we flew out to Hollywood, and we were there. And then before we went, we came back to Las Vegas to look at Las Vegas because I had a film entered into the Las Vegas International Film Festival that won me the Silver Ace Award, which was females. All of that is up on LordlandFilms.com. Right here, LordlandFilms.com. You can go right there. As a matter of fact, you can go to LordlandFilms.com and you can also donate. Everything is there. All the various interviews, all the links to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Google Play. And also we just got hooked in and accepted on Podcast Addict. ADDICT, Podcast Addict. So that's for people who have Androids. It's an Android platform. You just go there, you search the film review, and we come up and you can listen to all 81 episodes, right? Because this is the 82nd episode of the film review. So but anyway, back to the Black Ice Chronicles, The Shifter, right? So this is how it's set up. How did I find my lead? I found my lead. We went to this film, what can you say? It was an actor's seminar or something. It was an actor's workshop seminar over on the west side of Cleveland. Now, for people who don't know Cleveland, Ohio is very segregated, even still today. You know what I'm saying? Certain people made it that way, so that's the way it is. They travel an hour 45 minutes to come in, they travel an hour 45 minutes to go out. They chose to leave the inner city for black people, but in between time, they left one of the best suburban areas on the southeast side, Cuyahoga County, black, and we have the suburbs and the inner city. So anyway, so we went over to the west side. So going over to the west side is like going over into a whole nother world. It's older, the buildings are older, but this is where the lot chose to stay. But when you get over to the west side, you find out that there are a lot of black people on the west side as well, right, as we tell this story. So we went over to this workshop, because Crazy Dee is not adverse to going into different areas that he has never gone before, because Crazy Dee is pretty universal. You know why if you listened to last week. Okay, so we went to this actor studio and I found one of the actors who plays one of the characters that come up at the end. Right. But then I came across an actress that was who had done I guess within the workshop, she had done a scene. I said, she's pretty good. Me and my wife, I say, she's pretty good, and she's Russian. And automatically it dawned on me that it could be a very special situation if, internationally, to have a Russian person come in, and plus she had chops already, right? So I walked up to her and I handed her my card, because I pass out my cards everywhere. So she looked at me, and then when I walked away after I said my spiel, give me a call if you're interested in acting, because what we do does come out. What we shoot does come out. I'm a retailer, so I have to always keep my word about getting in merchandise or getting in what people wanted to order. So you always have to keep your word. So that went along within my work ethic as a filmmaker. Okay, that's what sets me apart as a filmmaker. I make sure that what I do finishes, it comes out, and people are proud to hear it. Plus, I had a background in music production, so my ear, so I make sure the sound. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. So anyway, so then And when I walked away, I said, she looked at me so strangely because, you know, it is segregated, right? And, you know, people are steered away from coming over to the southeast side, even though the southeast side is the best side. But that's why they're trying to re-gentrify it now. But anyway, okay. So, this is true. So, she called on the phone. She said, yes, I got your call. I said, well, come on in. Come on and do an audition. So she came in and she did the audition. And so then within that week, I had wrote the whole 19-page script. It was supposed to be a short, right? So I did 19 pages, right? And I made her the focal point, the star. And then I wrapped the co-star, which is co-starring, which you see right here, is Poison Ivy, and you see Priscilla Moore right here. And remember, you can see all of this on LordlandFilms.com right now. Lordland Films, but after our broadcast, LordlandFilms.com. Okay, so she came in, she did the audition. She was good. She was able to interpret my words. That's what I worry about. If the actor can interpret my words, they're in the front, okay? They're not in the rear, right? We've told those stories before, like when we first landed here, and how most of the black actors were in the back.
Plus, she also has, a great personality.
Yeah, she had a great personality. Plus, she wasn't afraid to travel over to what is the best side, the southeast side. But okay, so anyway, we did rehearsals for we did three rehearsals, and then we shot the boy. Right? So we took 2 weeks to shoot the boy, right? And then it took me a week to edit up the masterpiece and to go get it pressed, because I had a presser that pressed DVDs, and I pressed it all up and got it up, and we had our event at the store on October 29th of that year that the shifter came out, and we had the projector there. Shout out to the projection company. I searched these things out. All of that was on the west side, and I was able to go get the projector, rent the projector, bring it back, rent the screen, put it up, and show the movie. And people would come in. We had popcorn, candy. People came in, they paid a donation. Like, you can go right over to LordlandFilms.com right now and donate, to an organization that when we shoot it, we come down. So we shot it, everybody loved it, and that's when I entered it into the film festivals out west, because our plans were then to move out west, because a lot of my editing business was coming from out west, right? So you could do, but that's a whole nother story. That's the inside business. You don't need to know that. Fuck it. But anyway, so look.
Yeah,
fuck it. You don't need to know that. That's a little too much business. Okay, but anyway, so look. So everybody loved it. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful piece. It shows my art tour ability. An art tour is a person that deals with everything from the camera angles to the script to the costuming to the music selection to directing the actor to acting in it themselves. So just like Lordland Theater, the actors acted opposite me, and it was a story about Crazy Dee and the community, and it's an enjoyable piece. The pacing on it is incredible.
It's a great cast, and the acting is great. It was really fun making it, and everybody was just like a family. Because like the actors, we all had already had like relationship like with all of the actors, because we had worked with a lot of them before, or if not, some of them were like would come into the store, like
or they were MCs, or a lot of the people
MCs,
I work with, because they know their lyrics. So it was a combination of people who shopped in the store, actually, who were interested in acting, people who brought their music in to sell in the store, and people who were actors, So MCs, actors, and everyday people.
So the energy and the whole community thing is real, and it came across on screen, because when you were contacted, regarding the Curators Award. And that was the first thing that came out of his mouth, you know, when we, you know, got together with him and when we met him in Hollywood, and he just said it just feels like a community and just a great piece. So I'm glad all of that came across on screen, because like it was, because when we were finished shooting, we were still all standing around talking and eating pizza.
Enjoying each other, right?
Enjoying,
you know, each other's
and everybody was just humble, had a great attitude. It was just real cool, positive people. You know,
real
that,
cool,
that Midwest vibe. What you see is what you get. No pretense, no fake, no phony. Just like great, cool people working together.
And it was interesting what he told me about Hollywood. He said, unlike Hollywood, you went out and created something that you didn't wait for someone to give you a budget. You went out there and DIY, do it yourself. And so doing it yourself is underrated a lot, but it is what moves the masses, right? It's what moves the masses and moves people through. And so doing it yourself is where it's at, right? So we want to say that. But let me tell you this. He also said that it was hilarious as hell because it's a horror. It's a horror comedy.
Right.
It's a horror comedy, right? And so I don't deal in buffoonery when I do what I do. Right. So when I draw the character of a pimp, right? There's pimps. There's pimps. There's hoes. There's everyday people drawn in this story. The people that I would see within my 15 years in being in retail are all displayed, are all brought up in this film, right? And so this is what it is, and there's no buffoonery. It's funny because you say that person, I can see that person because I know that person. That seems like my uncle, or that seems like my aunt, or that seems like I work in the public too, and that seems like someone I had met in the public.
Just down to earth people, like the characters.
Just down to earth people. Everyday people, what you would see every day, right? And so this is what this movie is. And we want you to see this film because it's Halloween, and you know, we have the links up on lordlandfilms.com, right? We had the links up. We had the links up in the writings for this. After the show, though, go watch it, right? But it's available to watch. You will be entertained, and you should own it as a collector's item because it is worth having. The sound quality is excellent. The picture is excellent. The storyline is excellent. The through line is excellent. What it represents through the through line, and is there from Oscar Michaud up and through to me and others that make films, right? If you don't know what the Oscar Michaud through line is, you need to watch other episodes of the film review to find out what that is. And the message in it is just well done. I'll say it's well done, and it's fun, and you will be entertained.
And all ages, I noticed.
What's going on to Roland Matthews? I see he just checked in. He's one of our actors in, the Black Eyes Chronicles.
Another great actor.
The Preachers, like that. One of our actors here in Las Vegas, right? So, people, you have to see this film. You have to add it in for Halloween because it's just hilarious. So, what would you rate this?
Well, you know, I would give it a 10 because it is like one of my favorites. It's a classic because it's funny, and it's just, you just get a sense of community.
That's right.
Right, and because it all takes place in the neighborhood record store, right?
In the neighborhood record store,
right? In which we're basically, in the neighborhood, everybody basically knows one another, right? So that's where the family
dynamic
comes from, and so it's hilarious.
And an outsider comes in
Right.
to try to cause
havoc in the neighborhood. They're not
and the
havoc.
family shows up.
Right.
You don't say that much, right?
Right.
Okay, people. So I'm gonna, of course, give it a 10. You know, it's mine. You know, we do it every week on Lord Land Theater. But this right here is my ode to the horror genre, and it's a horror com, or it's a com horror, a comedy horror, or a horror comedy, or horror com, or a com horror, and that's how you would look at it, and you will enjoy it, and you can see it right on LordlandFilms.com. You can also donate on LordlandFilms.com for us for the film review, and all of us can keep on pushing this out, right? All right, people. So now we come without any further ado. We come to Black and Blue movie, right? Black and Blue movie, right? Now listen.
Excellent.
Of course, we had this up, right? Let me change the screen here so that we can stay with it. But anyway, look, we had this up ready to review, right? But then we heard a program called The Breakfast Club, right? So we heard The Breakfast Club, and Tyrese was on there. Naomi Harris was on there, and the producer from Hidden Empire Films was on there, right? And Hidden Empire Film Productions, they produce independent films that have black themes, owned and produced by black production company, right? And how production companies work is they produce it and then they go find a distributor to distribute the film out to the theaters, right? So he said the production Hidden Empire Film Productions guy said that he had usually done, you know, films, that he was working on a film with Nipsey Hussle. Right? But Nipsey Hussle unfortunately was murdered in front of his store. We all know about that. The marathon continues. And he was murdered, and so a lot of the elements that was going to be in that film that was going to star him went into Black and Blue. So what is the premise of Black and Blue? Black and Blue is about a young black female from New Orleans who went off at 17 years old to make a better life by joining the army. Right? She was in Afghanistan. She ended up doing 2 tours in Afghanistan. And while she was there, she was in the police force, you know, policing the people, right? So she has a different outlook on how to go about policing people because of her time overseas in Afghanistan. So when she comes home and she sees what's happening, she thinks that she could possibly do it a better way, but she soon finds that, you know, she's told that she has to choose a side, right? And so she has to choose a side, but within the middle of choosing the side, so to speak, she finds that the side that wants her to choose a side is kind of corrupt, and that's where the movie begins, people.
And you've seen this in the trailer,
and you saw this in the trailer, so I didn't give anything away. There we go, right? So she meets up with different people that she recognizes from the hood, right? But some don't want to remember her, and others remember her, but they really don't want to get involved. But somehow, when the time comes to be brave, they step up to be brave. And so this is where the Tyrese's character comes in. And let's go through the list of stars, people starring.
Naomi Harris, Tyrese Gibson, Frank Grillo, Nefessa Williams, Mike Coulter, Reed Scott, Bo Knapp, and James Moses Black.
James Moses Black. Now, when you see the trailer, you'll see them in a diner, and James Moses Black is the one that's telling her, his character is telling her to choose a side.
Yes.
What do you want to say?
You know what? Mike Coulter we know him from the TV show Luke Cage.
That's right, Luke Cage.
On Netflix.
That's right. So he comes in. He is the gangster heavy in the picture, right? And so he comes in and he's the menacing figure in it. But however, so this is how the story opens up, and then it goes through, and you've seen it. But let me tell you something. The use of New Orleans as a character in the story, beautifully done. Yeah. Beautifully done, right? The use of that as a character. The cinematography on it, excellent. Yeah. The capture and the reverse angles of her as the person that she is, going back home and then having to be confronted, right, by the reality that the people who once knew her see her as something else now, beautifully captured in the angles that they shoot, right? The concern and the pain that she experiences, beautifully done in the piece, right? The pacing on the film. Tyrese said when he was on the Breakfast Club that you will not go to sleep on this film.
You won't.
And you will not go to sleep on this film. Not one bit. Not ever.
Because as soon as the film begins, you're like in, because it's action throughout. The storyline is great, so you're involved in the storyline and you're interested in learning more about the character, right?
Right.
And so from there, you get a feel for her world. And it takes off from there.
It takes off from there.
It kicks off fast. It doesn't drag at all.
It does not drag. And let me tell you something. This is one of the best cop drama movies that I have seen. Right? Yeah. It depicts, like how you see Dirty Harry and the criminal had to write. Remember the first Dirty Harry movie, and then Dirty Harry, he has his 38 Smith & Wesson long barrel. He must have borrowed that from Truck Turner. Oh, right. He must have, they stole that from Truck Turner because Truck Turner had the long barrel 38. But anyway, so he sits there and Clint Eastwood says, "Do you feel lucky, punk? Do you, Dirty Harry?" Harry McCollin, or whatever his name was, Dirty Harry. He said, "Do you feel lucky, punk?" And then so the dude is reaching for the rifle, then he doesn't, then he kicks the rifle away from him, black dude. And then he says, I just got to know. And so then he goes click, click, and he didn't have any more bullets. Do you feel lucky, punk? Did I shoot 5 or did I shoot 6? And then he didn't. But I'm like, well, wait a minute. Usually in guns, you can see the bullets around. You can see. But I guess it was just that it was the one that's in the chamber at that moment that he didn't know, so he gave up. But anyway, so it's not one of those movies, people. No. It's not one of those movies where the black people are going to just be sacrificial lambs and just give up, right? So that's what we'll say about that, straight up off the top, off the rip. So you will enjoy this movie, the pacing. Now, Naomi Harris is English, and she was on the show, and she said, "Did you know that they're British? Well, English, British, same. Because before the English people were white, they were black. So English or British, whatever you want to say it,
she did a good job.
Yeah, she's a British, but she said
that
there has never been a prosecution of a black man.
Oh yes, she is.
Of a cop who killed a black man.
Right.
Over in England. Isn't that shocking?
Yeah.
That's shocking. That means the Bobby that's what they call the police over there. The Bobby have never been prosecuted for what they did to black people. That is a lot to say. That is a lot to experience. So she's one that is awake. But anyway, her accent of being a New Orleans, she really didn't have a New Orleans accent, but she had like a general
Southern
non-English accent. She had it, but you know, Tyrese kind of had the New Orleans accent on. He had the accent. It was an after, kind of like an after effect as his language dropped off. It was good. It was good. But altogether, it was believable.
Yeah.
Her as a person, as an American black person, was believable.
Yeah.
Right? The structure and the setup of what was happening in the picture was believable.
Yeah, it was.
Right? And it was fast paced and it was moving and it was logical, it was well thought out.
Yeah.
The script was written by an Englishman, by the fact. A white Englishman, by the way. I looked it up on IMDb and found out that so I mean, so that's amazing too, you know, that people would, you know, people could see it like that, right? So pacing great. Story 3-line great.
Yes.
The
acting great.
The acting great. It's not just one of those hood movies.
No.
Is it dope? Yes, it is. Writing, pacing, use of weapons, the special effects on it, great.
Yeah.
The imagery, the cinematography, everything. It had the right amount of grain in it.
Yeah.
Beautifully done. So, what would you rate the film?
I would have to give this film a 10.
Mm-hmm.
It was well done. It kept my interest.
Uh-huh.
Like you said, the acting was great. Naomi Harris was very convincing as, you know, as a black American in this film. I didn't hear her British accent at all.
Mm-hmm.
And cinematography beautiful. They did a great job. So definitely a 10.
Definitely a 10. All right, people.
You will not be disappointed.
You will not be disappointed. Go out and see this film. You will not be disappointed. It is well worth the price of admission, and it won't be the same same old that you usually see when you go to a movie where you know it's a million black people getting killed. Come on, okay. All right, people. So now, people. The top 5 sitcoms of all time, right? Let me change this up. The top 5 sitcoms of all time. Now, what would you think the top 5 sitcoms of all time would be in my mind? For what would be one of your top 5 sitcoms? What would you play?
Of course, let's see. Like, you know, of course the Cosby Show.
Okay. Good. You're looking at my list. Okay,
so
keep
it would
going.
have to be with the Cosby Show.
Okay, I'm listening. Let's see how close we are.
What, Sanford and Son?
Oh, okay. Let me write that down.
I'm going beyond 5, but
go ahead. Sanford and Son.
The Cosby Show. What, Sanford and Son? You have with the Jeffersons, Good Times.
Oh, Jeffersons.
I mean, you have Blackish.
Would Blackish be in it already?
I mean,
they have been on
so many.
Right?
And then Living Single. In which that's where they got the show for the Friends idea from. Right. They took that from Living Single. Who else?
Come on, that was 5 right there. You said Sanford and Son, Jeffersons, Good Times, Blackish, Living Single. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's your top 5 already. What's your other show?
I forgot about Hillman. What show is that?
Different World.
Right.
Different World. Yeah. Okay. So people. That was my wife's top 5 plus
Martin.
1. Okay, right.
Martin.
Okay, we getting out of there. Let me write this down. +2. But anyway, my top 5
girlfriends. So many of them, right?
See, you're writing it down. See, we have had some hits on TV, right? From the
Wife and
70s
Kids.
Wife and
Yeah,
Kids.
Damon
Wayans
show, right?
Wife and
then
Kids.
the Hughley show.
Yeah, the Hugleys. Yeah. See, we had
that's
some
a great show.
Okay, so my top 5. Right?
Bernie Mac show.
Bernie Mac without a laugh.
Get to your show.
Bernie Mac without a laugh.
About
track.
Bernie Mac.
He didn't have a laugh track, right? So my top 5, starting at number 5, sitcoms of all time.
Okay.
Girlfriends was my number 5, right? Number 4 was Living Single. Is Living Single for me.
Yes.
Number 3 is Meet the Browns. That's a Tyler Perry piece, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Number 2, Martin.
Yes.
Right? And number 1 for me was, and still is, The Cosby Show.
Yeah.
Cosby. That's right, people. So, I mean, we've had some major...
And the Parkers.
The Parkers,
yeah,
right?
Well, Monique and Countess Fine, right? So the Parkers.
Parker.
So we had like so many great comedies.
Moesha?
How could I forget about Brandy? Like she's my favorite, right? Moesha.
That's right.
Oh,
Right. So many.
Yeah.
Right? So that was top 5 sitcoms
And I'm
of
sure
all
we're
time.
forgetting somebody.
We are forgetting
So many great shows.
So many great shows.
That's My Mama, right?
That's My Mama. What's happening?
What's happening?
Oh man. I mean, it's just so many out there, right?
So Living Color, was that considered, that was like a variety show?
No, yeah, that was a variety show. That was more like
With
a
different
comedy
skits.
stand-up. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the Wayans Brothers show, I forget. Wasn't it called the Wayans?
The Wayans, the Wayans brothers, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So people, before we go any further and
Sean and Marlon,
that's right. Before we go any further, we want to talk about again the top 10 horror of all time to add to your list along with The Shifter.
Yes.
Right? The top 10 list. Starting again with number 10 is Us. Number 9, Bones. Number 8, Tales from the Hood. Number 7, Now Eat. Number 6, Blackenstein. Number 5, JD's Revenge. Number 4, Petey Wheatstraw, The Devil's Son-in-Law. Number 4, Death by Temptation. Number 3, Vampire in Brooklyn. Number 1 is Shared. I've changed up the list a little bit because actually it was 2 and 1, but I decided to make Blackula and Scream Blackula Scream co-number 1s in blaxploitation horror of all time, the top 10, right? So Blackula is behind Scream Blackula Scream, even though Blackula came out in 72 and Scream Blackula Scream came out in 73. But we definitely want to put that there. And of course, honorable mentions again, Abby, Dr. Black, Mr. Hyde, and of course, Blade. We didn't talk about Blade, but Blade.
So is that that's
a superhero horror film. It was a hybrid because they were sucking and killing up and slashing and slitting and cutting and bloodletting throughout the whole film. And here's the superhero Daywalker who could stop it. So and of course The Shifter. That's right, people. So you got to make sure that you put those into your Halloween repertoire to listen to, add it to your selections to watch during the holiday season.
Add it in.
Add it in because again, to be sane in this world as a black person, you have to always include yours first to be sane, right? So anyway, people.
You know what?
Go ahead.
Who we left out?
Who?
Black Jesus. Hilarious. That's a comedy.
That is. Is that a situation comedy though? Or is that more like a just a.
I don't know, but it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's situations.
So we have to,
it doesn't have a laugh track, but it's a situation. Yeah, we'll throw that in there. Black Jesus.
So what about, it's a cartoon, but I'm sorry, Boondocks is hilarious.
Okay, Boondocks. We're going to do
honorable mention
because we would have to throw the PJs in there then.
Well, I mean, PJs it's not Boondocks.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, people. So we want to say what's up to Shanine. I see she just chimed in. We just finished doing the top 5 sitcoms of all time. Yes. If you have your top 5, write them down and we'll read them over the air right now, right?
Or call up.
Yeah, call up. You see the number 213-943-3358.
Yeah, okay. Marlon had his own show that we watched.
Marlon, but they only stayed on one.
Which was horrible because, like, after that first season, we was looking forward to season 2.
All time, though.
Okay, so
you got to have stayed on at least 3 seasons.
3 seasons.
Okay, so that's out, and so is Marlon's show. That's out. And
Black Jesus is season 2.
No, Black Jesus has been on longer than that. That's 3 or 4, I think. But anyway,
I thought this was season 2.
People, the TFR showcase where we showcase, independent filmmakers, right? And next week, people, we have an independent filmmaker who is also a national filmmaker. Let me bring this up, right? We have interviewing next week, people, Wayne Powers, right? You know Wayne Powers from Deep Blue Sea. He wrote it. He also wrote Valentine. That was that horror movie where the person had the cherub, had the mask, scary. Right? And he was killing up people, right? And it wasn't who you thought it was, or was it who you thought it was, right? and many others. But he has a new film out. And the film is called Loves Me Not, and we're going to be reviewing and interviewing with him along with his producer, right? So you want to tune in next week for that, because that's going to be a great show. And you know, we've been interviewing and bringing in a lot of different people, right? And we want to say that, and we also want to say the following week, before we get to what we've been waiting to review all this time. Before we get there, we want to show this. And also, the following week, people, we have 2 directors. We have a jam-packed show because we're going to be interviewing one at 5:30 and one at 6:30. And you don't want to miss who we have coming up. And we're going to talk about who they are next week, because we're not going to say the names now, but you can see those ads all up on Crayzon Deeyon. But we're booking now, and if you are an independent filmmaker, right, and you have that heat, because the films that we have been getting in are heat, right, and we're going to talk about the good, the bad of the film, the pluses, minuses, and what makes it something that you should see, because it's an independent film, and you should see it when it comes to your city, town, hamlet, country, etc. Right? Yeah. So if you want to be there, submit your title to lordlandenterprises@hotmail.com. That's lordlandenterprises@hotmail.com, and we will review your film.
Like the young lady who submitted her film.
That's right.
And we reviewed it during the Halloween.
During the Halloween season.
She did an excellent job.
That called? What was that movie called? Can't remember right now because we've been reviewing so many. But you can go back and watch those episodes. It was a great movie. All right. So let me take a drink of water. Let's see what Shanine had to say. Shanine said Marlon was good. Yeah, but Marlon only stayed on 1 season.
It was excellent.
And it was good, but he's not top 5. You got to stay on at least 3 seasons.
Well, he gets
Sanford and Son, Blackish, The Jeffersons, Living Single, and What's Happening in Shanine's top 5.
Oh, okay. Great list.
Close to it.
Great list.
Right?
Yep.
Close to that. Because I said Cosby, Martin, Meet the Browns, Living Single, and Girlfriend.
And I went beyond 5, didn't I?
You did, because you mentioned.
There's so many great.
You mentioned Sanford and Son, Jefferson, Good Times, Blackish, Living Single. Yeah,
the Parkers,
Different
Wife
World.
and Kids, Hughley.
Yeah, that's right. So Moesha. So you named quite a few, right?
Like Jesus.
Black Jesus, right. I'm still up on what they would call that. I don't know if they would call that a situation comedy.
Well, it's a comedy.
Yeah, it's a show. It's kind of drama with laughs.
Yeah.
All right.
He's a comedian.
This is true. All right, people, look. We have been waiting for this now. When we had Donald Randell on over 2 months ago,
right?
He talked about his involvement, and he is was Dolemite's manager from '76 on to his passing, and he talked about what it took to make the movies, right? So we had a great discussion, and he's involved as far as, I guess, a consultant about making sure they got some of the imagery right. That's usually what they do with consultants. But what we're talking about is Dolemite Is My Name is now playing on Netflix, people. Dolemite Is My Name is now playing on Netflix, people. And let me tell you something. Was it worth the wait? Let's go through the cast first.
Of course, Eddie Murphy
plays
Rudy Ray Moore,
Dolemite.
Mm-hmm. Wesley Snipes, Keegan Michael Key, Craig Robinson, Mike Epps, Lunel, Titus Burgess, Devon Joy Randolph. Mm-hmm. She did a great job. Like,
she did.
She's like what the standout actor in the film. She did a great job. Snoop Dogg, Chris Rock, Cody Smith, McPhee, T.I. They did a great job. There's a lot of people in this movie.
I think that she deserves an award.
Yeah, she does. She killed it.
You know, it goes without saying, Eddie Murphy deserves an award for embodying Dolemite, but she deserves an award for playing Lady Reed.
Yeah.
Right? She deserves that award for playing Lady Reed. So now, what is the premise of Dolemite?
One more person. Ron Cephas Jones.
Okay. So, what is the premise of Dolemite Is My Name? Dolemite Is My Name picks up where Rudy Ray Moore is a man who has tried every type of thing. He did shake dancing with Caledonia.
Right.
In Cleveland, Ohio. It was a stage show that went around, right?
Yeah.
It had its germination in Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah.
Right? And then he's done records as a R&B artist.
Yes.
And nothing has seemed to pan out for Rudy Ray Moore.
Right.
And as it opens, he's trying to get his record played on a radio. You've seen this in the trailer, so that's not giving anything away, right? But where the radio station is, well, that is new, and you will have to see where that is, right? So he's pretty much thinking he moved to LA thinking that he was going to be in pictures and he was going to be within the blaxploitation craze or whatnot, right? Yeah. And it just really did not happen, right? So he's pretty much doing one-nighters or opening up, being the opening MC for a band, right? At a club. Yeah. And that is when he comes across, which Rudy Ray Moore has told this story, so this is not something that's, giving away the plot. He comes across a old man who is pretty much a junkie who tells the story of the signifying monkey, and he records this, and then he polishes it up, and then he puts on his new persona of Dolemite, and this is where the story kicks off, right? So first of all, let's go back for a minute. The opening, giving you the character's dramatic need.
Yeah.
And then when they introduce you to the addict, to the old addict who is a bum on the street now, who is looking for change.
Yeah.
That is the initiating event that kicks off and sparks everything that happens. Lou Nell is in it. The comedian Lou Nell is in it.
She does a great job.
She brings about excellent performance as the aunt.
Yes.
Right? And just like when we interviewed her, and you can see that interview on LordlandFilms.com. You go right there, you click it, you can watch it right there on LordlandFilms.com.
Yeah.
She talks about how the aunt was the one who believed in Rudy Ray Moore after all the other things, after the boxes and boxes of albums were sitting up, and she believed in this initial jump off, started it all, and he was able to be successful. Right?
Yeah.
What's going on to Juan Parker? I see he chimed in. Look. So that whole setup of bringing you the dramatic need and showing you exactly how it all began, beautifully done.
Beautifully done.
Right? Yeah. The use of music to set the time period, beautifully done. Right? The cinematography, beautifully done. The way that they recreated scenes.
Yeah, that was nice to see. Yeah.
The way they recreated the scenes, and it looked almost exactly like.
Yeah.
Right? Because it could never be totally alike, but it looked almost
very
exactly
close.
like what you saw in the original. Beautifully done. Now, character development and character arcing. Eddie Murphy's character arcs, but so does Wesley Snipes' character. Right? Which is DeVale Martin. Is his character.
Oh my God, he killed it in that role.
He killed it in that role.
I was convinced. Is that Wesley Snipes?
That's right. He was very convincing in the role, but even within who he was, there was a side that comes out of him that you
every
say
now and then.
So there's redemptive qualities put into the various characters, right? It's very well done.
Well done. It was nice to see the behind the scenes of like the making of the Dolemite film within this film. So just like well done. And just the fun they had. See, I love seeing the fun they had behind the scenes of making the film. Like I was saying with the shifter, right? Or like when we're working on films with Roland and Algie and Stu, and like just the fun, like just a cool,
on a shoestring budget, right?
Just like in Dolemite, right?
Right. So people get a chance, and maybe they will get an inspiration, right? But some people laughed at the Dolemite films, because we used to rent the films out in the store, and we used to sell them when they came on VHS and DVD. We used to sell those films, and we would sit up, had a double TVs, and we would watch the films, right? And I always respected Rudy Ray Moore, and when he came into the store when he was doing stand-up, and I was selling tickets, and he told the stories of the past, he told me I had a nice story. And when you watch this film, you see why he said that. And he had round. I ain't gonna talk about it. Round two, though. Round two. And what's funny is, round two is considered the best stylistic record ever made. Round two. And where does round two find itself? Smack dab in the middle of the record store. It's just every time the scene passes by the shelves with all the albums, there's round two. But here I am. If you watch the last episode of Lordland Theater, you see that I talked to a pimp named Stanley, and he came in to purchase round two. And I had round two because round two is considered the best stylistic record ever made. And there it is sitting front and center in Dolemite. And it just so happens that in that episode of Lordland Theater, episode 13, there is round 2. So it's just people who are in the know. They know what this is. They know what the culture is, the real culture is, and they put it across to the people, and that's what we do, right? So I mean, it's amazing to see the similarities in that, and the similarities of making independent film, and believing in what you do, right? And saying that that's a masterpiece. Like Dolemite is a masterpiece, right? Dolemite is a masterpiece, and I would argue that it would argue to say it'd be. I'm going to say that The Shifter is a masterpiece.
Yeah, it is.
Right, all the elements that I used in film making to make this come through, right, to the people, and people sit up there and they understood and they love the story. So anyway, so back to Dolemite. So seeing that, a lot of people will get inspiration from that and realize, hopefully this is what they get, that you can do it yourself.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking when seeing the film also, right? That not only will, I don't want people to just work on projects, right? I want the projects to actually come out and be seen.
So people can see their work, right? Actually see their work.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. That's when you're independent.
Right.
That's what you think of.
Right.
And you make sure that what you're talking about is right there on the pulse of what's going on when you make it, right? And if it's on the pulse of what's going on at that time, most likely it's going to go and stand the test of time in the future, because what's happening now will probably be happening 50 years from now still. And what you find is that is true indeed. So,
and there are tons of great independent films, and we've seen them, because we've talked to and they've reached out to us, a lot of independent filmmakers, and it's out there, and they have it where you can see it. And then that's why I'm glad that they're reaching out, and then we can bring them to you all, to learn about them, and we can talk to them and push each other, because it's a huge industry, and the industry is bigger than just the major Hollywood films, right?
That's right. Way bigger, right? So, Dolemite is a great watch for many different reasons.
Yep.
You can see the naysayers, the people who back the person, not only monetarily, but through pushing through positive reinforcement of language. Because language, words can kill, or words can continue life on, or even bring about life, right? And so that's what it is. So I mean, Dolemite, you have to watch this on Netflix. It is well worth. It's well worth the watch. You will be entertained. Eddie Murphy bringing Rudy Ray Moore to life. His close-up scenes, man. There's a scene where he's practicing before the first night of filming, and he comes across a photograph. And for the first time, you see the Rudy Ray Moore character. First he was built up, but then you see him vulnerable, right? When he's looking in the mirror, right? And just for that split second, you see into Rudy Ray Moore and what he was fighting against, what his driving force was, what his need was, what his dramatic need was shown at the beginning of the film. But in that part of the film, it showed you where that dramatic need came from. And it had to do with words from a person. So make sure you watch Dolemite. You will be. Cinematography, the clothing. Anytime you get the woman from Black Panther. You have
she did the costume design. It was a Ruth Carter.
So costume
Academy Award winner.
That's right. When you get it. So the cinematography, the clothing, the casting, everything was on point. The music.
Everything it was genuine. He did Eddie Murphy did like a great job. Craig Brewer, right?
Yeah, Craig Brewer.
They did a great job with bringing that time period to, because like the buildings, the cars, the clothes. Because in some films that are supposed to be period pieces, you'll see something and you'll be like, wait a minute, that wasn't around back then. But this film, everything looks so authentic. Like you feel like you were back
in that period.
During that period. So excellent job.
Excellent job. So people, is that everything already? Is that everything already? Well, let me just go back here one more time before we close out. This right here, people. Make sure that you tune in and you watch. Let me bring it a little larger here. Make sure that you watch Lord Land Theater every Saturday morning at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
You see a new, 9:15 a.m.
Right.
Every Saturday morning, you see a new episode of Lord Land Theater. And when you go on to lordlandfilms.com, that's lordlandfilms.com, you are able to click the image that looks like this, and it will take you straight to Lord Land Theater, and you can watch all of the various episodes, right? And so we make it real easy for you, and you know that we're on Spotify, we're on Google Play, we're on Podcast Addict, right? And of course, Apple Podcasts. And we want to shout out to all of our people who have come on to be advertisers, national advertisers, Quicken Loans, etc., who have come on, right? So this has been another robust show of the film review. Movies, music, culture, politics, and society. We are the husband and wife team. I'm Crazy Dee,
Tracey,
and we review movies, music, culture, politics, and society. And let me tell you something. We will see you next time on the Film Review.
The Film Review, movies, music, culture, politics, society podcast, interviews, movie reviews, and more. Live Sundays at 5:30 p.m. on Facebook at Crayzon Deeyon.
Hey everybody, this is Lunell, the original bad girl of comedy. I'm here at the Link Promenade in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, and you're watching the Film Review.